Alright, here we are on my upcoming map called the Labyrinth, which puts a few twists on the classic puzzle map. And I'm basically going to be going over the commands without giving away too many secrets about how the map works. First off, we're going to talk about zones, which I'm calling the boundaries of a test for command in a repeating command block. Here's how to set them up. In a test for command, you're going to put your target selector, then a set of square brackets. In these brackets, you're going to have 6 arguments: x, y, z, dx, dy, and dz, which go in the positive coordinate directions of their specified coordinate axes. Since zones are specified in repeat command blocks, they essentially have 2 states: always active and needs redstone, which would happen if multiple zones needed to be active at different times. Game 2 is a perfect example of this, with 3 different sets of zones active at different times. First off, you have the always on zone to teleport the player and start the game. Then a redstone block will activate another zone, which when you cross it, the timer starts, deactivates that zone to prevent people from essentially putting time back on the clock, and activates 2 more zones, one beneath the parkour and one at the end of the hallway. Activate the first zone and you fail the game, but activate the second zone and you get teleported to the next segment of the game, which I'm going to keep under wraps until you actually play the map. Next up, a topic that basically makes sure the game works as intended: scoreboard variables. Now, if you've played some of my other maps, you know how I use them, and there's a few more things I need to keep track of this time around. For starters, each game needs to have its own timer, so as not to confuse checkpoints, since I just teleport the player back to them instead of killing them. I also use them to keep track of game-specific objectives, such as in Game 1. Here, I need to keep track of 3 things: the amount of time on the clock, the current round number, and the amount of blocks that needs to be placed correctly in order to proceed to the next round. At the start of the game, the clock is set to 15 seconds, the round is set to 1, and the amount of blocks remaining is set to 4. When the blocks appear in the arena, the clock starts, and the player must place them on their designated corner. This is done through a set of test for block commands. Under each of the corners, I have repeating command blocks that test if the block 2 blocks directly above them is the correct one. If it is, a chain of commands will run, setting the block to air, then decrementing the block's counter by 1. If that variable is 0, then the clock will stop, the round counter will be incremented by 1, and a redstone block will be placed with 3 impulse blocks around it, indicating one of 3 outcomes. If the round count is 2 or 3, the game will load the specified round. If the round count is 4, since there is no round 4, the game will end and the player is sent to the next checkpoint. The final thing I really want to talk about in this map is relative coordinates. There are 2 types of relative coordinate sets: caret notation and tilde notation. Caret notation sets the position of the command's execution relative to the target. For instance, in the command on screen, the sound will originate from my location when the command executes. The other type, tilde notation, is used when you want to set a position relative to the object executing the command. Here we have a test for block command from Game 1, where it's looking for a block exactly on its x and z coordinates, but 2 blocks above its y coordinate. You may mix tilde notations with static coordinates, but not with caret notation. So that's the gist of how this map runs. To those of you who requested that I do this, I hope to see what you'll be able to do, and I will see you guys next week.